Peace. So check this out, right? So a lot of times we deal with a thing. Many of us have undergone this thing called having what they call a spiritual awakening or gaining knowledge of self. And I just want to let you know that in that process of gaining knowledge of self, there are things that you will undergo. There are a plethora of emotions that you will encounter when you begin to take on this path of enlightenment. You understand what I'm saying? When you begin to find out the truth. And what happens is that it hits you with all types of feelings and all types of things. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give you a perfect example. For instance, one of the first things that you'll go through when you get knowledge of self is happiness. You know what I'm saying? You'll be happy at first. You'll be like, you'll be bugging out because you're learning all of this new information, all of these things that you didn't hear of. You knew that something like this existed because what even led you this way to find these things, it was in your thought process. You were thinking about certain things, asking questions about where am I, where do I come from, who am I, what am I, is there a God, blah, blah, blah. So, these questions lead you to find someone who can answer them or find a way to get these questions answered, and then you come across somebody who may be able to give you answers. And what they do is, in my time and era, it was called an enlightener, one who came and gave you these degrees and gave you these lessons, and then it was up to you to study them, to understand them, to be able to build your own understanding. So what happens is that when you get this information, you get happy. You be extremely, you want to take it to the whole world. You want to show everybody. You know what I'm saying? But as soon as you get past that happiness, there's anger. Why is there anger? There's anger because you've been lied to all your life, and you recognize that now that you've been lied to. Like everything that you may have told, that everything that you may have learned, and that you may have been taught in school. Well, actually, what you have been taught in school pretty much is a lie. You understand? From history, you know what I'm saying, to English, and all of those other things. The only thing in school that you could learn that does have a pure science to it is mathematics. Mathematics is one of the only sciences in the education system that you can use to prove itself, to correct itself, and so on and so forth. So that's the only thing that's pure about school in a sense. But life is a school, you know what I'm saying? Information is a class, you know what I mean? So when you gain information, you begin to gain a whole nother feeling about yourself. The feelings of inferiority begin to pass away, and you get this feeling of superiority. And what I mean by that, you get this feeling of strength because you know the truth. See, when you know truth brings a strength to you. You understand? And this is something else that you go through. After the happiness, after the anger, becomes the sadness. Because you get sad because you know and understand there are many who don't know what you know. You understand what I mean? And what makes it even more worse is that when you try to go share that information with others, they don't want to hear it. And that makes you even more sad because only if they knew what you knew. You understand? Only if they had the experience that you've had that led you to this information. Because see, each and every one of us will wake up in our own due time. But some of us have woken up before others, and it was someone who sparked you to wake up. A spiritual awakening or an enlightenment contains a whole bunch of trials and tribulations along the way. Because see, truth is not favored in mass appeal. Nobody likes the truth. You understand? And because nobody likes the truth, people who live in truth are pretty much walking alone in a sense. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is truth isn't favored because responsibility and accountability has to come along with truth. And with knowledge of self, accountability and responsibility has to come along with that knowledge of self. You know what I mean? And what happens is with all of these plethoras of emotions, you begin to settle yourself in this information, and you recognize that you can do two things. You know what I'm saying? You have two options, either to tell the truth or to conceal the truth, meaning to keep it for yourself and to use it in a way in which you can manipulate others. Because see, people have used knowledge of self to manipulate others, to manipulate young ladies, to manipulate other brothers and sisters, to manipulate people to gain whatever they need to gain through knowledge of self. Now, because some people are thinking at a quicker pace, those who do have knowledge of self are often recognized to be thinkers. And thinking is how you put things into perspective. When you think about something, when you actually contemplate it or you think about it, you're putting it into a particular type of study or a particular type of area, you know what I'm saying, or a space that you can hold this information, right? So the thing is that knowledge itself is a tool. It's actually a tool that is to be utilized to be spread. Each one, teach one, to reach one. That's the whole science of knowledge itself. We are supposed to spread this information. We are supposed to transmit this information from mouth to ear. You understand? See, there's going to come a time where we can't write stuff down. There's going to come a time where all of the books and all of those things aren't going to matter anymore because they're going to try to get rid of those things. So it's what you have here and what you have in here is what counts. You understand? It was kind of like
where I am now compared to
seeing the old Denzel Washington movie, The Book of Eli, you know, where he was traveling all the way across the country, returning a book called the Bible back into history, in more or less, because everything was destroyed. It was a post-apocalyptic thing, so everything was destroyed. So he was bringing back this Bible because the Bible represented, in a sense, if you could pay attention, it represented a form of justice or morality, and people wanted that book because they know they could control the masses with that particular book. So he had that book, but what people may not pay attention to is that in the movie, even though he carried the book, it was empty. You understand? So when he made it back to where he went to, he transcribed that whole book from the top of his head. He recited that whole Bible from the top of his head. It's the same way. You have to become this information. Knowledge itself is a tool where each one of us will become a book for somebody else, a living testament for somebody else's enlightenment, for somebody else to wake up. That's what this is. That's what knowledge itself is. And knowledge itself gives one a true knowledge of their own self, of their own selves. And what happens in the state of own self and your own selves, you are able to find out the best of you or the worst of you. And you live in that. You know what I'm saying? You choose God or the devil. You understand? Because we know that man must look within to find either or. So the thing is that when we choose God, when we choose to be God, or when we choose arm, leg, arm, head, or when we choose our Creator, whatever you want to, however you want to draw it up, when we choose it, we become it. Because you made a conscious choice and you made a subconscious choice to follow through. So knowledge itself is the tool that can free one from their own fetters, from their own internal demons, you know what I'm saying, and aid others in freeing themselves from their own internal demons, because man becomes the lesson. And we learn not by what somebody is saying to us, but by what we see and what we observe, and what we ourselves can empirically put our hands on and study and touch. So knowledge itself is a powerful thing, but it's going to take you through a plethora of emotions once you get it. You know what I'm saying? You're going to go up and down. It's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. Trust me. And once you level off, then you'll be on your quest to do what you need to do. So with that being stated, understand that knowledge itself is a journey. Knowledge itself, the acquisition of it, and to maintain it, it's going to be a struggle. You know what I'm saying? And to even question yourself, to gain knowledge itself, one way to gain it is to actually question and begin to question and ask yourself, what do you believe? Ask yourself, are the beliefs that you have yours? I say this all the time. This is something that's necessary in anything that we do. In order to find our own self, we have to ask ourselves questions about the things that we have grown up with, about the things that we think belong to us. We may find out that they don't belong to us, and that you're driving on somebody else's ideas and somebody else's, you know what I'm saying, thought process. And you've been raised on somebody else's ideal and thought process, which is understandable. But you have to explore your own. So knowledge itself takes one back to the knowledge of themselves. And knowledge is to know, to look, to listen, to learn, to observe, and to respect. And to observe one's own self. And to find, you know what I'm saying, and to know, and to be. Peace.